back to Book March Madness. My name is Lee and I am your ref for this competition. The Sweet 16 has concluded and the results I think will surprise a lot of you. They certainly surprised me as I was watching the votes come in, which means we are now down to the Elite Eight and things are going to change from here on out. But before we get into how things are going to change, let's talk about the close calls, the comfortable wins, and the upsets in each of these brackets. This shouldn't take too much time because there are so few pairings in these brackets, but let's get into it. Let's talk about the close calls for the Classics bracket first. Weirdly, for the Classics bracket, there was not a whole lot of tight competition. The closest pairing was definitely between the Help and the Crawdads Sing. Only a few votes separated the two, not as close as others, but it was close enough to watch with interest. However, both pairings in this particular bracket were comfortable wins. We did not have any upsets, which means that Little Women did beat The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald. It is now out of the competition. It had a wonderful run, defeated a lot of other really great titles, and then The Help won over Where the Crawdads Sing. Like I said, only a few votes. And Where the Crawdads Sing definitely did some damage. There were a lot of people who were rooting for this title and a lot of people who were very upset by the titles that this beat. I can tell that this is a book that has mixed opinions about the content. So, the two books moving on in the Classics bracket via comfortable wins are Little Women and The Help. For the mystery thriller bracket, we did have a close call. It was the only pairing in this particular competition that went into overtime, which again was a little bit surprising to me. I expected there to be a little bit more of a hotbed of competition this round, but the close call was between The Turn of the Key by Ruth Ware and When No One Is Watching by Alyssa Cole. They were pretty much deadlocked from the outset. It was 50-50 for most of the day on Thursday, and into Friday afternoon they were still tied. And when I woke up this morning to do this video, they were still tied. And so I had to institute a 5-hour overtime over the noon hour today. And by only a few votes, Ruth Ware's Turn of the Key pulled ahead of When No One Is Watching. So the Alyssa Cole Brooklyn thriller hit is now out of the competition, and Ruth Ware, much as I had predicted, is moving on in the competition. Now, there was another comfortable win, and that was Between the Girl on the Train by Paula Hawkins and Tana French in the Woods, and unfortunately, by a fairly wide margin, The Girl on the Train by Paula Hawkins did take it over the Tana French champion. I guess people really like the Emily Blunt movie, so Girl on the Train moves on to the Elite Eight. Now, the romance bracket, I think, was probably the most dramatic of the four. What would you expect from the romance bracket? Both pairings were upsets, surprisingly, and there was a pretty close call between In 5 Years and The Unhoneymooners. It was real close. That almost went into overtime, but In 5 Years eventually pulled ahead of The Unhoneymooners. So the Christina Lauren title is now out of the competition, and Rebecca Searle's In 5 Years moves on. And to those of you who were rooting so hard for The Princess Bride and are so dedicated, unfortunately, as I had predicted, Pride and Prejudice did, by a pretty wide margin, unfortunately knock it out of the competition. So Pride and Prejudice also moves on in the competition. Princess Bride had an incredible run, took down some really big champion titles, including another Austen title, but I think the premier Austen title was a little bit too high of a hurdle for the Princess Bride to get over. In the fantasy sci-fi bracket, we didn't have any close calls, but we did have a comfortable win, and we did have an upset. The comfortable win was between The Fellowship of the Ring in 1984. 1984 hung in there for a while, but the fantasy world swept in and made sure that its Tolkien title stayed at the top spot. So George Orwell's 1984, which was another book that did incredibly well in the competition. A lot of people were a little incredulous as to how this particular book made it so far, but it's a quality story, and so I give it top marks as it exits the competition. So Tolkien is moving on to the Elite Eight. Now the upset, which again busted all of my predictions into pieces. I really like Leigh Bardugo. She is one of my favorite fantasy authors right now. And she did rise from the non-existing ashes because she's done great. But she was like a phoenix and completely trounced Crescent City which was not what I had expected. I expected it to be close. I did not expect it to be as wide a margin between Ninth House and Crescent City as there was. So yeah, the Sarah J. Maas title, against all odds, is now out of the competition, and Leigh Bardugo's Ninth House moves on to the Elite Eight. That was a short and sweet little explanation of who won and who lost. So I'm going to quick reorganize my bracket and walk you through the rest of what's going to happen. Okay, so the bracket has been rearranged to reflect the titles that are in the Elite Eight competition. For the Classics bracket, we have the most voted title, Little Women by Louisa May Alcott, going up against The Help by Catherine Stockett. For the Mystery Thriller bracket, we have the most voted, The Girl on the Train by Paula Hawkins, going up against Turn of the Key by Ruth Ware. For the Romance bracket, we have the most voted title, Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen, going up against In 5 Years by Rebecca Searle. And for the Fantasy Sci-Fi bracket, we have the most voted title, The Fellowship of the Ring by J.A.R. Tolkien, and Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo. So, I thought the last pairing was going to be tough. But this one, I'm not entirely sure, because we are now down to the champion and the rookie pairing. Up until this point has been a champion and a champion paired together and a rookie paired together. This is the first time where the champion is now paired against the rookie. And I want to see whether the prestige of a champion title can defeat the popularity of a rookie title, or the cutting edge quality of a rookie title can compete with the dusty historical context of a champion title. This is where I think ultimately things are going to get very interesting. Here are a few things about how your voting may be influenced in this particular round. So eventually there will be one title remaining, whether it is a champion or a rookie title, in each bracket, which means that the brackets then themselves will be going up against each other. Classics against Mystery Thriller and Romance against Fantasy Sci-Fi, and then whichever bracket is left from that particular competition will be the championship, and that will determine the winner. So we need to take a few things into consideration when you vote. One, you need to think about which book is best. Maybe your favorites could play into that a little bit. Again, think about the quality of writing, the reputation of the author, the theme, the style, the particular period in history, the events talked about. All of those things can influence your decision, but here's where forward thinking comes in handy. If for instance, you are voting for Little Women, do you want it to go up against The Girl on the Train, or do you want it to go up against Ruth Ware's Turn of the Key? Forward thinking, which titles do you want to be in competition with one another? Make sure you take that into consideration when you vote. Not that I'm trying to influence how you vote, I'm just suggesting that some forward thinking would pay off. My prediction is that in the first four competition, it's not going to be necessarily the title, but the genre that people are voting for. Are the classics better than Mystery Thriller? Is romance better than fantasy sci-fi? What's going to happen? As with the other competitions, there will be a link to a SurveyMonkey site for you to go vote on. However, there is a little bit of an addition to that particular SurveyMonkey site. After you pick one of the two titles in each bracket, I'm going to ask you, why did you pick it? Give me a reason as to why you think that book is the best. And I would love to share those responses on YouTube, on this particular channel, and on social media. I want that interaction. Tell me why you think it's the best. Argue the book's case for me. So those are the changes to voting. Which titles do you want to go up against other titles? And then I want you to tell me why you like those books, why you think those books are the best. And I think it's safe to say that all of these books embody two things. One, they embody cutting-edge content. I think the stories are incredible. Obviously, they wouldn't have made it this far if they weren't. And two, I think they are books that definitely have made waves in their particular genres. They have changed the game of romance writing, mystery thriller writing, classic writing, and fantasy sci-fi writing. They've changed the game in that bracket, whether they are a champion piece of literature or a new rookie title. They have set a new bar for that particular content writing. So what a wonderful celebration, I think, of titles, and it is an incredible group to be able to pick from. With no less respect to any of the titles that are down here in our out of tournament section, they are all wonderful titles as well, otherwise they wouldn't have been entered into the competition. I do want to say, if any of you want to participate in the reading part of the Book March Madness competition, all 8 of these titles are going to be on my April TBR. I'm going to be celebrating all of the titles that have made it this far by reading them during the month of April. So if you want to join me in that, I would encourage you to do so. You can look for updates on that on Leah Lynn's Library on Instagram. For now, I think that's it. So if you are enjoying Book March Madness and are interested to see the outcome of this particular competition, we have 2 weeks left. That's crazy. We have 2 weeks left for this competition. If you enjoyed this video, go ahead and give this video a like and subscribe to my channel. It really does help me out. Let me know what you guys want to see. As always, a huge thank you to the friends and family who have readily supported me on this journey. It truly means the world to me, and I can't wait to see what's on the next page, particularly concerning this competition. So until we have the final 4 and the brackets are going up against each other, we'll see you later.